This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Um, Today, we're going to talk about a few things from our Los Angeles facility and a couple things they want to focus on for the future. Um, I'm going to go over some basics on the two. We're going to look at the most recent version of the Annunciator, and then we'll talk about the sequence of event recorder. If you want to save questions till the end, I will try my best to answer them. I am giving you the caveat. I don't know a bunch about this stuff, but I wanted to introduce it so that we could at least think about it and get them involved in the process. So the first um, product we're going to talk about is an Annunciator. So an Annunciator is a standalone system providing visual and audio indication for abnormal field conditions or status in a specific location. Um, your field devices are hardwired into the input, so you don't have to rely on the DCS or PLC system. This is, something if that was to go down, this is by itself. There are outputs available to provide audiovisual and remote alarms as well. Um, in Ronan's history, we've made three different types of annunciators. This first type, X2, 3, and X19, are relay based. X12 and X11SN are solid state. And what the guys in Los Angeles want to focus on now is the X11CA and CB, which are programmable. So, what makes up an annunciator? So, common parts are the windows, the push buttons, the bezels and the lenses, relays, lamps, LEDs, and SMD devices. So you can see here's the idea of what it looks like. So why in the world would somebody want to use an annunciator when they've got a good DCS and PLC system? Like I said before, it gives an early warning. Um, it's independent from the system, so if your DCS or PLC went down, this is standalone. It is an efficient way to identify first alarms for troubleshooting. It has a fail-safe early warning. They're protected from complete system failures, so um, it improves a worker's safety. We can put field inputs integrally tested and isolated from the PLC or DCS, and it does have UL CSA approval. So here are the two components, the main ones, the displays and the chassis. You can see we offer an explosion-proof housing. We offer a surface mount housing. That one's just right here. And then we offer a rack mount. You can see we make them, um, many different sizes, so pretty custom. Common sequences, um, just showing a few here: auto reset, manual, the first out, ringing, or audible silence. So this is the X11CA, and it's surface mounted and does dry contact, normally open, normally close inputs, has the visual and audio options, remote push buttons, and alarm sequence. The new and improved Annunciator is the X11CB, which is microcontroller process, so computer driven. We use the same inputs from the field devices: dry, field, live, normally open, normally closed, independent isolated inputs, or other selectable delays. Has the same visual and audio outputs, same push buttons to silence, to test, or acknowledge and reset. And it can communicate through the bus TCP/IP Ethernet back to whatever you want it to communicate to. So it is a more reliable one, obviously because it's computer driven, meets all ISA standards, has the built-in test sequence, and will give you timestamps of the events. So this is just the specifications. Like I said, it has the agency approvals. The CB, which is what we want to focus on, they have 400 field contacts. And here are the accessories that can be added to it. So we've got horns, push buttons, auxiliary contacts, and then we have the power supply. What might you want to think about before you quote this? Oh, perfect. That's what I get, right? Give me just a minute to go back. But what you want to think about is what kind of system do they want? How tall and how wide? Do they want the nameplates to be colored, a single color, multiple color? And what kind of alarms do they want? So here are just a few industries where these have been used and could still be used today. Obviously, these industries are pretty similar to our measurement industries, so it's a good complement. And here are some specific applications in the power plant, nuclear power substation. They're looking at some different kinds of outputs: temperature, centrifuge, RPM, protection relays, gears. In power stations and steam boilers, looking at pump status, steam line or pressure, temperature, valve control positions. In oil and gas, oil water percentage, oil thickness, pump operations, tank level, temperature, pressure, safety devices. So here are a few pictures of the installed base. Here's a quick list of customers. And then these are just some of the competitors that we see. So that's the end of Annunciators. Now we're going to talk just quickly about sequence of event recorders, or what the guys in Los Angeles like to call the SER. Primarily where these are being sold are nuclear power plants. So what is a sequence of event recorder and what can it do? It is a system that provides event recording in the field, records abnormal conditions in a sequential order with a 1 millisecond resolution timestamp. Your field devices are hardwired into the input and the outputs are timestamped. Anything could come in there. Field contacts could be a sensor, a switch, dry relay, live contact. And the X500F is the latest model. So why a sequence of event recorder? It's giving a basic awareness of a hazardous situation. It's a backup system to the PLC, independent of the DCS. It gives identification of alarms, quick troubleshooting, fail-safe sequence, plant status, and it can improve worker safety. So what makes up a sequence of event recorder? The components are field terminal assemblies, a multiplexer, and a network hub, which is configured of the computer and the software. Here are some kind of field inputs, and this is the multiplexing relay output. So it offers fail-safe or loss of communication. So you might wonder what a multiplexer is. So it's a device that allows one or more low-speed analog or digital input signals to be selected, combined, and transmitted at a higher speed on a single shared medium or device. So the multiplexers that we offer can be 128 input, 256 input. They look like this. This is one of the modules, and they can put multiple ones in a cabinet. They inhibit, what are their capabilities? They inhibit individual annunciator inputs. The event descriptions are uploaded and have modification capabilities. Obviously, it's a rack-mounted design. I don't think you have to buy the cabinet from us. Has Ethernet multiplexing communication, and the administrator has configuration rights. So much like just a regular computer. The central control unit is where the visual outputs are located, the remote indication is located, the protocols, and the multicolor report generator. So this is what that controller looks like. And this is the images of the software that we have in this sequence of event recorder. As you can see, this screen looks a lot like an annunciator, and this is your timestamps. So the reliability of the software, that might be a question that's asked. We have dual power supplies in the recorder. There are 2 CCUs per multiplex, dual channel inputs, dual Ethernets, history information for up to 100,000 recordings, continuous hardware failure diagnostics, GPS or IRIG-B for accurate timestamp, and access protection with multi-level passwords. So here are the images of what that looks like. So a couple things to consider if you are presented this opportunity to quote. Like we said, the components were the field inputs, the display, and the hub with the multiplexer. For the display, you're going to want to think about what kind of size, so the same as the Annunciator. For the control units, we have a rack mount, table mount, or in the Windows software. And with multiplexers, you just have to discuss with the customer what kind do they want. Do they want dry field contacts, a live field? They want control cards, and how many do they want? Perfect. Here's just a list of a bunch of the different inputs. This is how the system on a PID might look for the layout. Here's another picture. And what industries? I indicated nuclear power plants. That seems to be the most popular because this is a tried and true recorder. But you might also put it in refinery, chemical, cement. And it's doing many of the same thing as the Annunciators, but the difference is it's giving you many, many recordings with timestamps. So here is a brief list of the customers and our competitors. So I'm going to open it up. If any of you have any questions about these two products or anything else you want to ask about. Oh, great.
Is there any update to?
We're muted.
I don't. I thought she unmuted us for a second.
I did.
Nice.
Hello, Becky.
Hey, how are you, Becky?
Good.
I have a question about the multiplexers and their the Windows-based computer backup. Is that, or communication, is that limited to XP only, or has that been updated?
It's updated to 7. This presentation that Roy had given me, you're right, it still showed XP, doesn't it? So I need to update that to 7. Good catch. I know it's not for Windows 10. We don't like Windows 10 here at Ronan.
A lot of people that don't like Windows 10, but
I know.
it's kind of getting outdated, so yeah. So there would be a question about Windows 8 or 7 capabilities.
Yeah, I know it's Windows 7.
Oh, okay, great.
I know I've seen that, so I need to change. So if you come up with any inquiries for this equipment, you can send them out to California to Franz Eckert or to Raymond, and I don't remember Raymond's last name. But when I'm done, I will share this link, and then I'll give you their 2 email addresses as well.
I also have them. So.
I do too.
Is Roy still there? What about Roy?
No, Roy's gone.
What?
Yeah.
He left at the end of July.
Aw.
Made me very sad.
Yeah. What about the old man?
He is still around. Roy's over at More Industries.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mr. Hewitson is still around. We don't hear from him in the office as much. Kind of homebound, but we're still doing really good.
Nice.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for attending the 3 seminars. I greatly appreciate it. Like I was telling Kirk, I paid for the monthly subscription, so what I'm going to try to do is do something once a month on a Friday to highlight a different application. So those I'll be recording as well. Eventually, I'm going to get all these links onto our own website, but in the meantime, I'll email them out to everybody.
Thanks, Becky.
Right on. Thanks.
You are welcome. Thanks, everybody, for attending my meeting. Have a great day.
You too,
Thank
Becky. Bye now.
Bye.
Stay with PLC training?
Yes.